Hey folks, welcome back to the Dev Twitch stream. We've got awesome guests here today. My name is Nick Taylor. I'm a senior software engineer here at Forum. Forum is the software that powers Dev. I'm also here with my awesome co-host, Christina Gorton. Christina, you want to just give a few words about yourself before we introduce our guest?
Yeah, I'm just hopped off the stream with Vonage. So hello again, if anyone just saw me. I am Christina Gorton, the open source community manager at Dev, and that's really it.
Cool. And we're here also today with Rachael Wright-Munn. I believe I said your last name correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Chell Codes. I stream coding adjacent games and my open source application. For the month of Hacktober, I'm doing something pretty exciting. I'm visiting different repositories that are open source, and the first one I started with was Dev2. I think it's really inspiring and exciting that this is a static blogging site that was originally designed for developers but has been expanded to support multiple communities and is built entirely on Rails, which is kind of my specialty. So I was really
Nice.
excited about it.
Cool, cool. Nice.
Awesome.
And just a bit about yourself. I believe you said when we were talking yesterday briefly, you're a senior software engineer. Is that correct?
Yeah, I am. I've been a team lead a couple of times, but I'm enjoying the independent contributor life.
Nice.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. So as Rachel said, she came over to the Dev2 repo or the forum code base, I should say, and she decided to tackle a liquid tag issue, which is one of our project themes this month of Hacktoberfest. And she put in an awesome PR, which was to have a Twitch embed via the liquid tag system. And that's since been merged. And today, we thought it'd be interesting. For those who aren't aware about the Twitch embeddable types, there's several of them. Rachel will go into that as we get on in the stream here, but I thought it'd be a great example of once this does get merged, we'll have because most of the liquid tags in the system, I believe, are currently just single embedded types. So this will be a great example of a multi-embedded type for future contributors. So with that, why don't we switch over to VS Code and I will let you start driving.
Sure thing. Also, hey rollers, nice to see you.
They say we have some Rachel fans in here.
Oh, hey.
So,
I'm a first-time Rachel fan. Yeah.
so this is the first version of the Twitch tag that we built. When you're looking at a liquid tag, you want to build kind of three key pieces. You've got your basic liquid tag, and for anybody who isn't aware, like liquid tags are a library that's been kind of brought into 4M that creates these like base templates. Can we actually show what those look like?
Within
Like
the editor,
inside
you
the
mean, or?
editor? Yeah, inside the
Yeah,
editor.
sure.
Like give people an idea of what it looks like to add a liquid tag.
Oh,
But
that's a
what they
great
allow you to
idea.
do is they allow you to embed like iframes and like dynamic content and things like that. Normally, for like a blog site or something like that, you wouldn't want to embed those because that immediately introduces security concerns, right? So, like, what this allows you to do is it allows you to have these, but in a safe way because the 4M repository is what's handling delivering that content. So we kind of know that it's trusted.
Yeah, just loading it up here. Just give me 2 seconds to get us a better view of
Absolutely.
things.
Like I
Nice.
mentioned before, there's like two key pieces of this. So there's a liquid tag base, and that's what you kind of like build all of your code on, and that's the base of the model. And then you also have an embed and a partial, and that partial is what you put your actual templating in the HTML that will be inserted into the page in. There's like
Yeah.
two different controllers, like there's liquid tags controller and there's liquid's embeds controller. But if you understand like the structure of how to create a liquid tag, you don't actually need to understand how it's delivered. Oh, hey, tons of
Yeah.
PCs. It's nice to see you. Also, hi, Rafi.
Cool. So I have the Dev2 editor open here and just showing the syntax of how you write a liquid tag. So just zooming in a bit here for the folks at home. So essentially to add a liquid tag embed, you have the squiggly parentheses followed by the percent sign, then the name of the the embed type. So in this case, I'm doing a Twitter example because it's one I know off the top of my head. And the way you embed a Twitter one is you just need the ID. So if I come back to my Twitter feed here, you can see that up in the URL bar, there's a ID at the end of the status here for this. This just happens to be a one from Saran. And if I go to the preview mode, you're going to see that it loads the embedded Twitter tweet here. And that's whoops, why did I publish that? No, abort. Yeah, okay. I didn't have a title, so it didn't
Saran's
publish.
gonna be
But...
flattered. Just my tweet.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so you can embed it. You can have text here and then text here or whatever. And that's how you use it within the editor. We'll move back to VS Code here, and I'll let you drive again if you want to keep talking about it.
Sure thing. I think also one really good thing to mention about liquid tags that tripped me up during development is I didn't read 4M's documentation on liquid tags closely enough. So like I kept testing against the template, but it's actually when you preview the page or you save it or modify it that actually gets re-rendered. So that was definitely kind of one of the challenges that we faced in adding a new liquid tag. So I think what I'm kind of thinking about for this Twitch tag is there is a similar one out here already, which is the GitHub tag. And this one has a couple of different options. If we look at how the documentation of GitHub is described, what they typically do is they have you provide a URL and they use that URL to interpret exactly which template we want to embed. For this first one, I really wanted to go with something that was similar to what already existed in Dev 2. I thought that had the most likelihood of being merged. So I wanted something that was like existing content, right? So like YouTube and Vimeo already have like videos that are added and like stored. And what I thought would be helpful would be to add clips because that's a very similar type of content. And is also that embed only supports that. So you're not going to have to worry about like, you know, a whole bunch of people showing up from Twitch and being like, I'm going to embed my stream in Dev 2 views.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I took that approach. But I think what we decided we were going to do today is we were going to take a look at actually embedding some of these other Twitch embed types that support streams and broadcasts and VODs.
Cool. And for the folks at home, just to give maybe just explain briefly what the difference is between those embeddable types in Twitch. Nothing to do with liquid tags, but just from the Twitch ecosystem.
Oh, sorry. You want me to explain that?
Sorry.
Nick just threw it out, and he's just like, yeah, there you go. You explain.
I'm still a Twitch noob. I've only been doing it since July, so.
I just dropped the link in the chat. Maybe we can open that up and take a look at it.
Yeah.
So there are 3 different types of embeds that they support. And actually, I would love to hear your perspective on this as like a Dev 2, like actual developer.
Dev.
Yeah, somebody who like rolled up in the repository one day. But there's 3 different options. There's a non-interactive frame, which I believe means that it doesn't have the play and pause button, and that one can be used for broadcasts and for streams. And then there's an interactive one, and then there's the clip one, which we've already implemented. I'm thinking what we do is we look at the URL and we use that to decide what we want for the.
Yeah, for sure. We can parse the URL, break it up, and figure out which one to go with. Yeah, I think that's a good plan of attack.
Yeah, it's also it's a nice easy one.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with easy. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe what we can even do is I think we're just looking at different partials. So for example, if we started with something like clip partial, and let's go with like an interactive frame.
Okay. And I'm gonna just interrupt you briefly here. Just for the folks at home, partials are partial views in the Ruby on Rails ecosystem, which is part of the MVC architecture. So for example, the one you have here, the clip partial, that means that it's in a liquids folder with the name twitch.erb, I guess.
Underscore twitch.html. html.erb. So if we go take a look at this one right here, that's the name of it.
Okay, cool. And I'm still
ERB actually stands for embedded Ruby. So literally the only difference between like HTML and an ERB template is the fact that you can have like these right here, which are little snippets of embedded Ruby in your HTML templates.
JSX before there was
I was gonna
JSX.
say. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna so you're gonna provide different partials based on what we parse out of the URL, and then we'll decide
Yeah,
which one to.
I like that idea. So I'm going to take this existing Twitch one and I'm just going to rename it Twitch Clips. And that way, what happens is we won't see anything on the front end. And what we can do is we can kind of say, if they've passed just a slug, we're going to assume it's a clip because
Okay.
the way that clips are structured in the URL is very different. But then if they pass an entire URL, that's when we're going to go in and we're going to check where it comes from.
Yeah.
Maybe what we can even do is we can poke around with like creating some nice tests around that so we can do it automatically. The
Oh,
only
for sure.
challenge that I had is that tests are running a little bit slow on my environment.
Mm.
I think I ran into some issues with setup.
Okay. Well, I've got a big cup of coffee, so I can take some big sips in between the test runs.
If
Yeah.
only.
Yeah,
All right,
I've done
so
some testing in there, but yeah, I've found it a little slow sometimes too. I'm not sure what the reason is for the slowdown, but because my machine's pretty fast, so.
mhm. Okay, so I think what I'm going with, and I don't like this name, but I'm going with twitchstream.html.erb.
Okay.
I think you're only able to see what I do with VS Code, correct? As the audience.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Mhm.
we're connected for the folks at home. We're using live share, so I'm actually in VS Code connected to Rachel's computer, and you can see there's a little yellow cursor. That's her. And this is me saying hi. There we go.
Let's see. So it looks like actually this kind of makes me like wonder. So I'm taking a look at this template, and if I make changes to my screen, do those show up on yours as well?
Yep, you just paste it in an iframe.
Yeah, and then I split it into a side-by-side view.
The side by side I don't have, but what do you have on the other side? I'll get that split.
So I have twitchclips.html and I have twitchstream.html.erb.
Twitch stream. Okay, I have the clips on the right and I have the stream on the left, so the folks at home can see both.
So I'm taking a look at this. It almost looks like I can just swap out what my source is. Oh, but you know
Yeah.
what? You know why we don't want to do that? Why we want to still parse the URL and figure out what it's supposed to be? So this
Oh
was
yeah.
something that I was streaming. Cyberbenny like mentioned to me. So if you have autoplay equals true and you embed like a Twitch clip or a Twitch stream in a in a comment and mute it as false, people could drop screamers in the comments and they would just immediately start when you loaded the page.
Oh boy.
And I was kind of like, oh yeah, we
Yeah,
don't want that.
that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah.
So I wonder. So I am noticing these are pretty much the same thing, aren't they?
Yeah, what are you thinking? Passing in a variable to the
Yeah,
same. Yeah.
to the same
Yeah.
partial. I'm thinking about swapping out that URL
Yeah,
because
I
these
think that's a good
are
idea.
practically identical. Yeah. And what we can do is we can we can do some fancy URL parsing. Do you know what URL library Forum uses?
I have no idea because I primarily work on the front end, but I'm sure we have
Great.
one.
We'll put it together.
Worst case, maybe I
All right.
can ask Christina to ping somebody in our Slack just to ask quickly. But,
Yep. So what question would you like me to ask? I will put it in right now.
I guess what the Earl parser gem that we use is for
Yeah,
or if we
whatever
have something homegrown.
preferred library is. Yeah. I like to kind of poke around with that. I think I actually, hang on. If I remember right, there was a Kotlin tag. Can we take a look at Kotlin tag?
Yep, and I'll pop that open. Oh wait, I think you have to open it in VS Code and then I can see it. I don't know. That
How's
should
that?
be popping up. Kotlin, where'd you go? No, that's not it. Kotlin, why is it not finding it? It's underscore Kotlin. Oh, there we go. Yeah, all right, cool. I have the iframe open, but do you want the RB file?
I'm looking at the RB file, yes. Because
Okay.
they actually have in here this action controller base helper strip tags. And that strip tag sounds an awful lot like what we might want, but it's not really a URL helper. Because what I was kind of hoping for was something where we could pass in the parameters we wanted. Because I think for all of these, what we're going to want is like autoplay false and then muted false. That way
Okay.
it's paused, nobody can like embed screamers, and when you hit play, that's when, there's the screaming and everything. I got a little bit frustrated, and there might be a clip of me like sinking down in my seat and dying with frustration.
I,
And
I
I
definitely,
basically like sat there and I was like, if I do this, if I am the person that makes screamers in Dev 2, like I am absolutely going to have my articles filled with these comments for the rest of my life.
yeah. No, it's definitely a good idea to mute those because we actually had another PR recently to stop auto playing videos for people that have videos that they've uploaded to Practical Dev. So sorry, to dev.to. So I definitely think it's a good idea by default to have things muted and paused if possible.
Mhm. Mhm. That's what I was kind of thinking. So then let's yeah. So I have sorry, I'm like thinking and talking.
Oh no, that's cool.
Um
No worries at all. I mean, we're not coding them like nonstop, so it's all good to have some thoughts in there too. So.
let's pull up the Twitch Tag Spec. I really like test-driven development, and I feel like creating the test is going to help me like really structure how I want to build this. And here's what I'm kind of thinking. Instead of having the URL there, what we can do is we can say, hey, accepts the Twitch clip slug, and we can paste the URL here.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Haven't
And then what
bit
we're
of
doing
trouble.
is we're saying, like, if this is modified, this is what I return. And instead of just being like, hey, describe Twitch tag, have this like assert parses, what we do is we take this assert parses, we pull it out, we put it where a helper method belongs at the very bottom of the test. And then at the very top, we say something like context Twitch clip.
Okay.
How familiar are you with RSpec?
Uh, I I know it slightly. I mean, I do a lot of testing in the front end, so it's the same idea. It's BDD, right? Like do this, it expects stuff like that. Well, I see it's using assertions,
Okay, so
but yeah,
yeah, I think that pretty much like covers it. So what a context block is it'll say like, if this thing is true, um, then these are what I expect to see, right? So we can say something like, hey, when it's a Twitch clip, do this. And we can start with, you know what? When Twitch clip slug.
yeah,
And then what we can do is we can take some of these. I almost want to create like a shared spec here, but I think for now we'll just focus on duplicating it and then we'll clean it up later.
yeah, yeah,
Because
for
what I'm
sure.
thinking we can do, yeah. What we can do next is we can say like when Twitch clip URL. And then
Cool.
I think I have some of these on hand. Oh, hang on, they're in another window.
No worries. I'll just for the front end folks at watching it's similar to using Jest or Jasmine or an expectation kind of testing library. So
Mhm.
you have a describe with an it, or you can use test as well. I don't know if RSpec has test instead of it as well, but typically in Jest it's you use it with the describes if you want to break things down like this. Um,
Mhm.
Yeah, and yeah, I like how the tests are written. It's very clear what it's testing. These here are unit tests, they're not integration tests. So you're
Yeah,
literally just checking, does it do this? Yes, no. So
here we go. I found it. One of my like chatters, Surly Dev, is like a huge hold on. You know what I'll do? I'll include the death scene. Um he's really into like clipping different things and like
Okay.
just kind of like having that like literally it's just nonstop clips and stuff and he'll like capture every single funny moment. So he actually
Okay.
made me a list when I was working on this PR of like clips that I could use. So I'm thinking for this next
Nice.
one, what we'll do is we'll say for the URL, um, we know that the clips are going to look like this. And
Okay.
what I should hope to see is that these fail, but that we end up with the same. Let me cut this section out.
And I guess the testing variable instead
Mm,
of slug, it should be URL or something
Yeah,
more related.
I like that. Let's see. You know what we'll do? We'll do URL and we'll do slug.
Okay.
Because I was just thinking, like, how am I going to pull out this one specific part of it?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, we could even do this for all of no, no. And actually, now that I look at this, so I put slug in here in all these locations, but I actually need to put this. I need to
Yeah.
put like the clips URL.
Yeah. Yeah, and you were saying you definitely enjoy doing TDD. I would agree with that. I think it works well when you kind of already have your game plan of what you're gonna do. But I find when I'm still like experimenting or like not sure how things are gonna be, I tend to write the tests after because I really don't know yet where I'm gonna be. So I kind of mix a bit of both.
I'm going to
I
say
don't,
hey to Corey Haynes, and I'd love to discuss this more. So, one of the things that I do when I'm not necessarily sure where I'm going to go with the story is I'll write the broadest spec possible and I'll add additional specs as I go through. And
okay.
I think that what that really does is it allows me to iterate quickly and it allows me to test inside of my test environment. So, like, it's really easy to debug things and use like binding.pry on the back end and things like that. Um, and that's kind of why I actually lean towards, especially when I don't know what I'm doing, kind of like building a base test so I can like ground myself and be like, these are the results I expect out of what I'm building. So, for example, recently I was building this really large service that connected to like two different providers and it had like 5 different endpoints and all that sort of stuff. So, what I would do is at each phase, I would do the failure for that spec
Okay.
and that process. So it would be like at each phase, I only had to work on one stub, one service, one interaction. And when I got that failing correctly, I would move on to the next one. And what it
Okay.
meant was that by the time I was done developing it, like my tests were built and I could just roll everything out. This one I had a little bit of I had a little bit of trouble testing that way. I hate how long this is. This is not good testing practice, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Well,
And I'm gonna
we can refine it after.
yeah. Well, actually, there was someone who had a lot of really good feedback on my PR, and I was like, oh, I'll have to address that after work. And by the time I got back from work, it had merged, and I was like, oh, okay, well, never mind.
Yeah, later. Yeah.
Yep. I was like, well, that one shipped. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think
so
what I want to do is this.
okay, cool. So the embedded URL is gonna I'm guessing that's like a template literal. It looks similar to I think JavaScript got it from Ruby actually. Uh, so that's just
String
building the URL
interpolation.
with the slug, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool, cool.
Whenever you see that, like the technical term is just like string interpolation. It is so convenient. I love it so much. I
Yeah,
I kind of like the way that in JavaScript and like ES6 you do the backticks to indicate that you're going to be doing something with like string interpolation inside of it because I feel
yeah,
like it gives you that nudge at the beginning. In Ruby, you just do double quotes to indicate that you're going to be embedding something or using like a single character or a single quote, or it can also be used if you're going to be injecting like new lines and things like that. And I'm like, it kind of muddies the meaning, but I also like it.
Okay. So
Very
so in terms of Ruby, you can interchangeably use single quotes and double quotes, but if you happen to do string interpolation, it always has to be double quotes. Is that the deal?
That is correct. That is
Okay,
absolutely correct.
cool.
There used to actually be a performance benefit to using single quotes over double quotes, but that was, you know, optimized long enough ago that it doesn't do anything anymore. Okay,
Okay,
how does this look? So this is our existing test with the when Twitch clip slug. And then down
okay,
here we have when Twitch clip URL.
okay. Uh, as I'm not as familiar with RSpec and Ruby, when you're doing the assert parses of the embedded URL and then comma slug, that means the embedded URL needs to contain the slug. Is that what that assertion is?
So this assert parses is going to call this method down here where I pass in a URL and a token.
Okay,
For this token, I'm basically handling whatever it is that I throw in there. Like maybe I've got some weird white space with like a space and a tab. This one is the one that prevents our screamers, and this one
okay,
basically skirts it muted.
yeah,
So typically, both of these are very helpful. And then
okay,
what we do down here is we say, okay, go to liquid template and parse this. So this is the exact same thing as essentially calling a liquid template inside of a blog post, right?
okay, yeah,
And render is going to convert it into HTML.
okay. And
And
you're
then what
just
we do down
parsing
here is,
that there.
yeah,
Okay,
exactly. So down here I just say, what is the HTML? Does it include the URL? I'm not even checking that it's in the source. We had some fights with Nokogiri because Nokogiri was like, I'm gonna strip out all your and params. So we were
okay,
kind of like, okay, we're just gonna check for this. That's beginning and end. What we could do is we could poke around in the Kotlin tag spec and see if it has something better. So in the documentation for Liquid specs, the reason I keep pulling up Kotlin is because they recommend that as like the top tier one. Also, sorry, I'm normally on this alone, so I feel like I'm chatting over y'all.
You're
no,
fine.
it's
Nope.
okay. Uh,
You're doing
eh,
good.
I'll do those awkward I got a question kind of things in between while you're talking. You were talking about Nokogiri. I know that's a gem within the forum code base. What is the Nokogiri? Is it Nokogiri or Giri? I feel like I
I
know
know
it's sushi, but I think it's sushi. I'm not sure, but
I haven't heard of Nokogiri outside of the thing, but I always kind of pronounce it Nokogiri because I pronounce onigiri that way. But
okay.
I don't know either. And you know what? I'm willing to bet that most people encounter it first in text format. So I'm willing to bet that different people pronounce it differently.
Okay. So it might help the forum code base. It might be sushi. We're still not sure, but we'll get back to you on that in the chat.
So
Cool.
it might help the forum suit. It might be sushi. Let
Yeah.
me show you where I got Nokogiri from. So when we go to the Vimeo tag spec, which I've just opened up in my editor.
Okay. Is it called Vimeo? I'm only asking because I always call it Vimeo,
You know what?
and there's
This is another
other
one
things
of
I
those
say
text
incorrectly.
I think
It's like
I don't even know what I say. I just these are things I say in my head. I don't know that I ever say them out loud.
well, no, it's like
Exactly.
even there's a lot of people that have gone to the Flatiron boot camp, and I always used to think it was Flatiron, and then the people
Oh,
in like
that I
local
knew was
coffee,
Flatiron.
and I
No,
also
you're wrong on that one.
anyways, you know, I just need to learn how to speak so I can do this stream, I guess. So, uh,
I'm I'm
Most
really in, yeah. I'm really into reading like fantasy and sci-fi books, and that's like one of those things that's always funny when you like try to talk to someone about them for the first time, and everyone's like, "Wait, what? I don't know. What do you pronounce that?" Like the names of characters. No.
100%. I think it's the same situation. For the
Yeah.
most part with like tech things, what I'll do is like I'll say it how I normally say it, And if the other person says it differently, I'll just pick up whatever's
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
and I'll just copy that to like avoid the fuss. But if we're looking at the Vimeo tag spec, or Vimeo
Oh, the
with
spec.
the company I'm in,
Vimeo.
I've got the Vimeo Ruby file open, but let me get the tag. It's I think there's a setting in live share where I can actually just do Command P and find them, but it's not letting me do it. So I'm doing these weird searches looking for empty space with the file name called Vimeo. It works, but it's a little
no.
clunky. I don't know.
If you want to like poke around in live share, I have very strong opinions about GIF versus GIF that I would like to share with your community.
Okay.
Yeah.
So which one is it?
Here is my opinion. If you make something as iconic, as important, and as transformative as GIFs, you get to name them.
Okay. It's also a type of peanut butter for in the States, I believe. Jif or Jiffy.
Yes. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
so do not call it Jif if you have peanut allergies. Just throwing that out there. Okay. All right.
I've heard it both ways so much now that I'm not even sure what I say anymore. I think I just say both of them now at this point.
I've kind of decided I'm just gonna call them Jeff instead. Just so it's like
Jeff's.
a person. Yeah. Hey Jeff.
Just express that I have strong opinions about this, and you're just gonna be like, nope, throw it out the window.
Well, I'll give my shout outs to Flatteron and Vimeo. Okay, cool. I've got the Vimeo tag RSpec file open now. So you were talking about Nokogiri.
Yeah. The CompuServe graphics interchange format. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard giraffe.
I have this one. It's intentional. So if we take a look at Nokogiri, what it does is it'll parse a rendered template in HTML, and it'll go to this root and it'll say, take all of these parts of it, and now you can navigate it as though it were a hash, right? So it's really easy to say, I want the source of this, and I want it to match this. And that is a really nice thing about it. It did not work for us.
Okay.
It stripped out all my ampersand params. It handled the first param fine, but everything after that was gone. And the weird part was I couldn't find any issues with it. And I just got frustrated and was like, I'm just going to do this with regex. And then I realized I didn't even need regex.
Okay. You just did what? You just grabbed the first ampersand and the rest after?
Oh, no, I just didn't use Nokogiri. So if we go look at the Twitch Tag Spec, I actually require Nokogiri, but we don't need it.
Okay.
Use it. So I'm just going to sneakily remove that before you make it back.
Right. So we've been talking about a lot of important things today, folks. Peanut butter, sushi, how to not pronounce things. So I'm glad you're tuning in today.
It's okay. I mispronounce things now in English and Spanish now that I'm here in Costa Rica. So.
I was looking at your backdrop and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is gorgeous. Like, this is inspiration.
Yes.
I'm still waiting for the day when we're on the stream and then just this sloth slowly just goes behind you.
They're horribly animatronic looking when they're on the ground. We had a pet sloth for a little while. Not pet, we took care of a baby for a little while until we could get it somewhere. But yes, cool. They're a little freaky when they are on the ground.
Yeah, well, because I've been to Costa Rica a couple times and we went to a reserve there where they help out the baby sloths too and stuff.
Yep.
In, like little baskets. It was really cute. But I think
they were full, so we had to keep the sloth for a little while.
But I think they only go on the ground when they need to use the washroom. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, I got my animal facts straight at least. So.
Or if you are a human who doesn't want to hold them constantly, then you put them on the ground.
Yeah. Their claws must get stuck in sweaters easily.
Yeah, I mean, they do cross the road here. A sloth crossing the road. I feel like that's a joke. So you will see them on the ground doing that.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Can I briefly derail us while Rails is building in Docker so I can run the spec?
Yep.
Yeah, sure, go.
Have either of y'all heard of a show called Crashbox?
Nope,
Crash
I'm about
box
to
or
Google it.
bots?
Okay, so Crashbox was a kids series on HBO that had these like
Mhm.
quirky, offbeat, like claymation, like puzzles and things that you did. Like for example, one of them was what was it? It was Eddie Bull, right? So they had like this little theme song. Eddie Bull is edible. He really is incredible. He's really the best of the bunch. It's really no surprising. We find him appetizing and we want him for our lunch. So every single episode, Eddie Bull would get eaten by an animal, and you had to figure out what animal it was before you would digest it.
It's kind of like Kenny dying in South Park every episode, I guess.
A little bit. But the
Yeah.
one that I was really thinking about was Docker build. Okay, so let's try this.
Cool.
Docker exec. I'm gonna pass a little IT. I can't do this inside of my actual like VS Code console. Maybe I'm
Okay.
able to if I go to WSL. Let me try this. If I reopen this folder in WSL, am I going to break your connection?
As long as the live share is still open, but worst case, we'll just reconnect real quick. Oh yeah, I'm toast.
Yeah.
I am dead. Okay, cool. Yeah, so just send me another link real quick, and
Yep. If you can't, I'll hop back to Windows and I'll just run the specs inside of a separate terminal. And if you want me to, I can swap my face out with my screen so I can be like, here.
Cool. I'll
Here are
switch our
specs.
view then in the stream. Okay, let's go there. And go ahead if you want to share.
Okay. So I sent you like
should
a
have
little
share.
thing.
Okay, I'll connect to live share again, but if you want to just share your screen for a second, you can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I'll reconnect.
Sure. Ta-da!
Yay!
Let's see. So I'm going to search for our Twitch spec. And this is our Twitch Tag Spec. Nice. And then I'm going to open up the terminal. And down here, this is where we're going to do Docker, compose, up, and what am I doing? I'm not doing Docker compose up. Sorry, that was entirely the wrong thing. I'm doing Docker exec-it, and then I'm running that on 4M Rails, I think is the name of the container.
Okay.
Bundle exec artspec.
Can you send me that live share link again? Because I know you connected on the contacts, but it doesn't pop up in my live share. So I'll just click on it from our chat there in the Discord if you don't mind.
That makes sense. Let me hide this. Oh no, it says cannot share workspace. Okay, so I think there's something about WSL that is preventing this. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. We can go back to the other if not, and if you need to share your screen for stuff, we can do that too. So.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, so now I'm back in this one. Let's see.
And for those of you who are looking to contribute, if you are on a Windows machine, which Rachel is, you need to install WSL. That's the Windows Subsystem Linux, sorry. I'm still not saying things correctly today. You can check out docs.forum.com. Maybe you can pop in a link there for the Windows installation, Christina. There's also the Mac and Linux installation there too. And so you're in WSL and are you running you're running everything in Docker? Is that what you're doing? Or just the specs?
I am. This is kind of interesting. So when I started up Docker and started using it with this, I had to make a couple of changes. I had to copy the contents of the container file into the Docker file, and then I had to comment out the part where it pre-compiles assets, and that allowed me to do Docker compose up.
Okay.
But after that, I was able to use Docker. This is kind of weird. I tried using Docker from Windows, and it didn't work, but if I use Docker from WSL, it does.
Interesting.
Yeah. The other interesting thing is if you're using Rails and you're working with WSL and you're working with Docker, all of these things together, one of the things that's a good idea to do is there is a config development .rb, and what it is it's this evented file update checker.
Okay.
And you want to remove the file. And what that's going to allow you to do is whenever you update your files, you're going to see Rails hot reload like it normally does. Otherwise, you would have to take down the server and restart it in order to see your changes.
Cool. All right,
I want to
come
check
back
something
to you.
really quick.
Yeah.
I have a PR that I always reference when it comes to this because I don't remember it off the top of my head.
That's cool. My live
But I'm
share
not.
is still loading the file tree, so you.
Oh no. Let me pull up file update checker. Yeah, okay, so I can use file update checker. Yeah, that's a real thing. I didn't make something up. Sometimes that happens. Let me make sure I've got a chat here. Excellent.
Does it show me connecting to live share? Because it says I'm joining. It says I'm signing in and joining.
I see nothing.
All right, I'm gonna do it again and see. All right. Usually we're connected to live share the whole time, but given that you're running in two environments, it's all good though. All right.
That would have been a good thing to handle from the beginning.
This wouldn't be a Twitch stream without something going wrong. I mean, that's just.
Well, it's already better than the first time I did a pairing stream. People couldn't hear us for like about 10 minutes, and then my video was working, but then the audio was working, and then the video wasn't. Anyways, okay, I'm connected again now. Cool. All right, so you're back in the liquid tag. Let me switch back to.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's get our faces back here.
Bundle exec, spec. I hop around a lot.
Yeah. You want to just close your share screen, and then because we got the live share open again. So. Cool.
Sounds good. Let me get this. Okay, so I have bundle exec, rspec, liquid tags, Twitch tag spec. Sorry, I forgot the thing.
Oh, it's all good.
One of the things that I've been trying to do is experiment with actually getting Rails to run, or VS Code to run rspec commands from Docker through their automated tool. And I've almost got it working, but not quite yet.
Okay.
Let me see. But it should be exciting when it does work.
See in the Twitch Tag Spec.
Put it on Dev too.
Okay, so this test you're saying forbids the insert mute option. That's to prevent. Why are we forbidding inserting the mute option? Just out of curiosity, because we want it muted, right?
So what we've done is we've prevented them from putting in autoplay, right? And like if you picture this from your perspective, you go up, you press play, it starts playing, and it's completely silent.
Mm-hmm.
That to me feels very strange. Like it seems like what you would want is like if I'm pressing play, then I want the audio.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why I was kind of like, okay. And it's not really like forbids inserting the mute option. It's more like overrides the mute option.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was just confused by the way it was worded. Okay.
Yeah. The original version of this so these specs actually came like from CyberBenny, who created a commit on my PR as like a recommended change, and so I could just pull those changes in. The original version had the mute option working, but the autoplay not, and I was kind of like, it's better just to say like you don't get to decide how your clips play.
Okay.
Like we're gonna say no screamers, and when they press play, it plays. Because if you think about it from like a user's perspective, they're not gonna be like, oh, this author did this with their clip. This author did this with their clip. They'd just be like, sometimes on Dev 2, I press play and the clips are muted.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Let's see. So right now, in the background, I have Rails trying to start on Docker so that I can work on this. What we might do is we might poke around a little bit with the code itself
Yeah.
while we're waiting for the spec to build. So I think for this one, we have this parse slug. I think this should be parsed token because that's the content from the user.
Yeah.
We'll swap this out for token. This can be at URL. And then here we'll pass in the token. And then what we basically do is we come down here to where parse slug is and we modify all this. And it's fun and it's easy and it's lovely.
Or hacking the matrix.
This gives me kind of an idea. Instead of doing this as like when Twitch clip URL, when this, when that, what we could actually do is we could just describe, let's see, parsed slug, and then we don't need to have quite as many. Yeah, then we don't need to have quite as many of these.
Okay.
But yeah, we would start here and we would say like, I think Christina, like you passed me URI.parse base URL.
Yep.
Without my binding.pry, I feel like so like empty.
And for the folks newer to Ruby at home, binding.pry is a debugging tool, correct, for Ruby?
Absolutely. So there are two debugging tools. Bybug comes by default and it just lets you pause where you are, opens up a Ruby console that allows you to like call variables, modify things, like check out what values are set to, and then binding.pry is just a competitor that does the exact same thing.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't really know why you would pick binding.pry over bybug. It's just that was the first one that I learned and got comfortable with. And I'm actually curious if anybody in chat has strong opinions on bybug versus binding.pry.
Yeah, I know. I haven't done a lot of debugging, but the one I've used is the binding.pry, and it's not. I don't know. I found it a little clunky. I haven't used by bug. Is that what it's called?
Bybug, and it's
Bybug.
it's not. Yeah, it's not easy. Can I ask why did you find it clunky? What are you used to?
Well, no, the thing is, I'm not really a Ruby developer, so it's like when I get in there, I think it's just it's clunky for me right now because I'm not as familiar with the tool. Like when I work with front end debugging tooling, I'm totally fine. It's just, and maybe it's my misunderstanding of using binding.pry, but I know it'll go in and then you hit essentially, I guess, like a breakpoint, same idea. And then I wasn't sure. I was just having trouble navigating it, and I think it really is more to do with I'm not as familiar with the tooling.
It sounds to me like you're expecting to be able to run like that next command.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like in typical debug, because I did a lot of .NET before as well, and so the visual debuggers you can step through, and I think I was expecting that experience, and I think that's why I was finding it a little difficult. But uh, once again, I think it's once I know how to use the tools properly, I think I would be like less inclined to say it's clunky.
No,
So.
I think you're right. It does not have like a next line or anything like that. It's literally just like you have to place a binding.pry in the code wherever you want to stop execution. Like I think that you have a really strong point there about one of the benefits of that. I think a lot of that debugging capability though is more common in compiled languages, if I'm not mistaken. And you said you come from
Yeah.
a .NET background.
Yeah, initially, I do mainly front end right now, but like even in the front end, like if you look at the browser debugging tools, whether it's Firefox,
Mm-hmm.
Chrome, or a Chromium-based browser, even Safari, you can literally click to add a breakpoint or use the keys to do it, and then you can hit that breakpoint. You can put a debugger statement, which is the same as binding.pry in Ruby, and that'll stop right there. But yeah, I think it's more. I'm I think it's a few things. I think I do like that experience better of being able to step through, but I think my lack of knowledge of Ruby as well is what also makes make my brain go kind of like when I'm trying to debug with binding.pry. I think if I knew more of how how Ruby worked, I think I would be a lot more comfortable with it. So it's something I'm slowly working on because, like I said, it's mainly front end dev I do, but I sometimes dip into the Ruby code because you need to because they overlap in certain cases. So
I think I probably have the exact opposite experience where what I do is I mostly work with backend code with databases, indexes, and like building services and integrating with third parties. And occasionally I'll dip into the front end because like I need to build something. But to be honest, I'm kind of behind when it comes to like the newer frameworks and all of the most recent updates. Like I didn't know you could actually step through in JavaScript. Could we demonstrate that for people?
yeah, sure. We can put me on the spot and I can do that. Sure.
You
Give
On the
me
spot.
put her on the
2 seconds.
spot earlier,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah,
your
yeah.
turn.
It's like in your face, right back at you. How do you like them apples? All right.
Patience.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Let me just share my screen here. All right. So let's go here. All right.
By the way, Rachel, everyone's behind on front end because front end never stops. So we're all behind all the time.
I think something a new framework got released during the string, probably. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. We're all
All right,
behind.
so let's go to this is something I added a while ago, but you have this subscribe button down here. Of course, every time I do this, I end up finding a super long post. But anyways, there's this subscribe button here, and you'll see there's a bug with our forum browser extension. It's been fixed, but I don't have the latest. But basically, I click open here, and I can choose the different types of comments and so on, and I can unsubscribe. But if we come in, so the easiest way to open up the dev tools, which I believe is in all browsers now, is you either do Command Shift I or Control Shift I if you're on Windows. And that was not it. Okay, great. I'll just do F12 for now then. Okay, so I know what the file name is, so it's article. Actually, I already have it open. Okay, so you see here, I'll zoom in a bit just for folks at home. So this is what we're looking at here is, I won't go into too many details, but it's a pack file in that Webpacker consumes, and this is how we integrate Webpack with Ruby on Rails. For those who are somewhat familiar with Webpack, this is an entry point in Webpack. So let's go here. I'll just go to the render. So we're using Preact, but it's still this. It's pretty much the same API as React, except for Suspense, which isn't released yet. But anyways, I've got a breakpoint here.
Nick,
Yep.
Can I interject just one thing? I don't know if you can switch it at all, but right now the screen that you're sharing is like real small, and we're all in there.
I gotta go into
So it might be
super
better if we make it bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you. I appreciate it. Is that better? It looks pretty massive
Yep.
now. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. All right. So we've got this breakpoint.
Oh no, now it's me. Oh, there we go.
Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna refresh. Now the cool thing about a browser is, okay, I've already got another breakpoint there. But you have a breakpoint, and all of a sudden, if you have the dev tools open, the browser just stops execution right there. But let me go to where I was. Okay, so I have this breakpoint here. And then I can use the keys here. If you look on the right here, you can use the buttons here too, but you can step out, step in. So this is a component called comment subscription. So I'm going to go to that file. And then I'll just go to the top where it renders. We'll leave it here. So from here, if I press F8 basically, I keep saying basically, I shouldn't be saying that. As soon as I press F8, it'll continue execution, and then I hit another breakpoint. I can hover over, I can see what the variables are defined as. So if I step down one, you'll see now they have their variables set. You can create watches. There's like a ton of stuff. So I'm not sure if the watches will work because these are source maps, because it's Webpack converting the code. But you can step through just like this. And you can also do something interesting, which is create a conditional breakpoint. So I can come here, and if I right click, you can say edit breakpoint, and you can say I want to create an expression. So, I could do something like show options equals true, and that breakpoint will only get hit when that condition is true, for example. These are a few things. Um, there's a lot of other cool stuff in the debugging tools here. You can use the network panel. You can see what's going on. So like say you make an AJAX request, I don't know, you get a 401, you can click on the file, you can see what the headers were that were sent and so on. There's a lot of great stuff in here, and this is just a general rule for a developer, regardless of what you're doing, is know your tools. And in my case, I don't know the Ruby binding pry that well yet. So, but yeah, so that concludes me being put on the spot now. Okay.
Good job.
That actually looks really cool. I like that. I might have to try that out. Do
And
you
there's
know?
also, yeah, no,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead, Rachel.
I was just gonna ask, do you know like what it works on? Like, does it work on vanilla JavaScript? Does it work on Vue? Does it work on React? Like, do you know what frameworks it works with?
Yeah, it works with any of them because with all these bundling tools that you have in the front end now, what happens is you have this notion of source maps. So source maps are the actual code that you write, and it maps to what the compiled JavaScript is. And as your part, as the actual code that's generated runs, it knows where to stop in this source map. Um, I I'm not super familiar with how that all happens in source maps, but I know they can be generated. You can also deploy the source maps to production, and there's no performance penalty because they only get activated when you open up the developer tools. But stuff like if you're writing Vue or JSX, I mean even Vue supports JSX now, I think, but
Yeah.
that's not JavaScript obviously. But once again, because of the
Yeah,
source maps, it'll
it's
it'll
the
be able to
compiled
hit there.
version.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So lots of fun stuff.
It sounds like
Cool.
it. But it
So
looks like.
all right. So if we get back here, okay. So you were working on the parsed slug. Is that what we're looking at now?
Yeah, so I was kind of like buying time until the Docker container started up.
It's all good. It's
Okay.
all good. It's everything smoke and mirrors, you know. Oh, look, there's a cat.
um, and I finally. Oh, here we go. I do have. You are so rude. Hang on. Okay, so it
I
told
think
me
she's
that I
talking to
didn't have a
Docker.
full.
Yes.
I am talking to Docker. Docker upsets me quite frequently. Um, okay, so it told me that I didn't have a container, but I do have a container, but it just gave me like a container ID, which is a little weird. Let me try. Oh, you know what? I might have. Yeah, I reversed it. Oh no, that's me. It's not Docker. Yeah, that's me. Okay,
Yeah, I've
never
used.
mind.
Is the container running? Or
It is, but I did Rails 4M1 instead of 4M Rails.
Oh.
okay.
Yeah.
I guess you can check. I'm not like a pro at Docker, but you can use. I think you can use Docker PS to see all the running. Yeah.
That's where I found out I had typed the wrong thing. I really wish that I could share this, but again, like for some strange reason, we ran into issues when we were trying to run Docker straight from Windows.
Yeah, I know. I know. On my machine, I'm running a Mac. I'm able to run RSpec on my machine, like within
Yeah.
VS Code, but I don't think I'll be able to because I'm connected to yours right now. But
Hey,
yeah,
Kiki
no,
Cobra. I wonder if you can. Could we test that? Because like you have my.
yeah, 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 I can see. Well, let me
Let's
just.
explore this. Because you can't see what I can see, but like I can see that Docker is trying to run it. It's not.
Yeah,
Like.
I ran RSpec. I had what is it saying? Okay, I've got some by bug warnings, ignoring something, then failure. says failure. Well, I just had a test spec that I had before, but let me try one that you're working on.
Yeah,
So
Twitch Tag Spec.
spec liquid tags. Twitch tag spec.rb. Okay, it runs, but rspec runs, but I get one failure. It says
Perfect.
cannot load such a file. rspec.
Oh.
It's trying to run it off of my computer. Let me check what the path is. Okay, I think you need to give me admin privileges to your console, and then I might be able to run it.
Do I go to share terminal?
Yeah, that should work.
Right?
Okay, yeah, now I'm in your terminal. I can see it. I'll zoom in for folks at home. And I'll run.
Yeah, that's not gonna
Okay,
work.
no. Yeah, if I run, it's because I'm on your machine, so it says rspec it can't be found. So, okay, so,
We can poke
but
around with this though. So like,
yeah, we can still poke around.
hold on. Let me make sure. Oh no. Oh, okay. So Docker did finally get back to me. I had the slashes in the wrong direction.
Okay.
So let's try that again. Because with this one, we actually do want to see some errors because what we want to do is we want to do like a red, green, red.
Yeah. Worst case, if you want, we can always, if you want to share your screen, you can show them running, just because it might give some more feedback to the folks at home. But
Yeah. Okay. I have
I'll
no
just
problem with
switch.
that.
Cool. I'll switch us back. We're like freestyling all day today here. All right.
It's the same
Cool. So
repo.
we see your VS Code, and I also see you have a terminal open.
Yep. So you can see the terminal is like going, and we'll see when it returns over here.
Yeah.
And that's really all we need to see is that it has returned, and we'll bring it over and get some more space. In the
Okay.
meantime, it makes me kind of want to like think about parsed token. So we do this URI.parse. Let's try hopping over to something like, oh, not there, over here. Let's take a look at that URI library
Yeah.
in Rails and see what options we have available to us. Because we have like scheme, we have host, we have path, we have query. This query is looking promising because that has my params in it.
Yeah, and you won't lose your ampersands this time.
Exactly. But what I kind of want to look at is ways to break this out into like separate param.
Okay.
Let's see. Ooh.
Well,
Okay, let's
that
try that.
worst case, you could get the, well, not worst case, you could grab the query and then just split on ampersand, and then you'll
Yeah.
that's how I do it in the front end, but I imagine you can do the same thing in Ruby where you just get an array of the chunks, and then you'll end up with key value pairs, and then go from there. And then,
That's definitely an option. If I have the option available to me, though, I like to see if there is an existing like method for that. One of the things
yeah,
that
no,
I
no, for
really
sure.
want to be, yeah, and one of its like best strengths is the fact that it has these incredible expansive libraries for like for arrays, for strings, for URLs, for everything. Um, Normally at this point I would drop a binding.pry from the test and I would just be like I would just call these methods on it and see what it returns.
Okay.
The only one I'm seeing though is query.
And
Because
the
what I'd like
and
to
the
be able to do. Go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say, is the query when it's pulled out in the hash there, is it just a string, or is it an object?
That's what it looks like.
Okay.
Because like it's got it right here and it's just got it in quotes.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
other thing that I want to be able to do is I want to be able to set query to something. And it makes me kind of wonder like if we're starting over here and we're parsing our token, at this point, I know you don't want me to write another spec, but I'm going to write another spec.
Oh no, no, that's good.
Fernando dropped a link too. He said you might want to check this doc link if anyone wants to check it.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. I'll go mosey on
Absolutely.
over to the
Thank
chat
you,
and see.
Fernando.
Is
This
that
is
Fernando,
definitely
our coworker, Fernando?
Yes.
Yeah.
okay. So you have build, user, set host, set path, set port, set scheme, set user, opaque. Sorry. I'm used to like filling up dead air with like just me reading what I'm looking at on the documentation.
Oh,
I
it's all
think that's
good.
good. That's what I did when I was an instructor. So let's see what we're doing. Just talk through it all. You're good.
Well, I can break out into song again like you did before. We can turn this into like the Greatest Showman or something.
I
Ooh.
did like the song earlier. That was nice.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Like, give me all the
I don't
feels.
I kind of think I didn't ever actually get to the point of that one. Maybe we will do some like. So the point of that story was that there was a second one called Poop or Scoop that was all about animal facts, and you had to guess whether they were true or false. And if it was false, it would be poop. So when you were talking about sloth facts and you were like, they only go on the ground to poop, I was like, that's the animal poop false.
Gotcha. My kids would love this show. This is like right up their alley.
There,
It's
there's
great.
one called what is it? What's that show called again?
Crashbox.
Okay, yeah.
Crashbox.
All right, let's see. Since you're in VS Code, I'm gonna switch to the other view, just because it seems a little, at least what I'm seeing, it's a little glitchy, the share.
Okay.
Not glitchy, but it's not rendering as well. Yeah, cool.
I'll
And
pop over to this. You can pull that up. I know that anytime we're sharing video, it's going to lose a little bit of resolution. And I'll just
yeah,
update you when this finally shows up. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically creating like my test case and I'm initializing our Twitch tag, which is the Ruby class we have over here. And at
yeah.
the end of it, what I'll do is I'll just call this parsed token on it and I'll pass in the token. It's kind of funny because I'm actually going to end up passing the token in twice, I
Okay.
think, in
Okay,
order to
so
call.
you
Oh no,
do
these are
twitch tag
private.
dot new and you pass in the token as along with it because that's what would be pulled out of the editor, right? Because it would say Twitch and then a URL, and that's why those two things are being passed into the class.
Absolutely. So if we go up to the top of Twitch tag in that
Yep.
initialize section, the first param is tag name. So if we wanted to do anything like have Twitch underscore clips be something, Twitch underscore stream be something, this would be one of the ways we could do that. But I don't think we want to mess around with that. This next section over here, parse contacts, we're not going to include.
Okay.
And then this token that we need. This part context, I think I still have to pass nil to it
Okay.
because it doesn't have a default. Also, I just got something back. Oh. Okay. I have something.
She doesn't want to share it
Rachel,
with
you
us. She
disappeared.
disappeared for that.
Oh no,
Said I'm
sorry.
going away.
Sorry. I went to put my Discord so I could see your faces. Oh
It's all good. It's all good.
It's okay. We hear you. Your video is just not on now.
no. Oh, my video isn't on? Hold on a sec. I can fix that. Let me go to here. Let me go to virtual webcam. Virtual webcam is running.
We're hacking the Matrix live.
Discord. There we go.
Yeah,
All
man.
right, we're
Woo!
back. We're back.
Can you confirm the text is the correct direction for me?
Yeah. Yep.
Perfect. I see it backwards. Which is why I'm asking. It's been really trippy, like looking over at my face and seeing it like backwards. Anyway, so I'm looking at this and I see this an HTTP request has been made that VCR does not know how to handle in this Elasticsearch chat channel memberships test. I remember running into this and giving up last time.
Okay. Now
Are we
you
gonna?
said you're.
Fernando left another comment if you guys want to see if that's helpful.
Yeah, I gotta take a
Yay!
peek what Fernando's saying. After Googling a bit, you may need another helper library to work along with URI, which is CGI. Okay.
Fernando, is that already added to Twitch, or not to Twitch, to Dev2 or 4M? I'm just gonna go through all the names.
Yeah. I'll ask him. I'll ask him in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah, the both Ruby libraries, but I just asked him if the
Okay, that should
gem's
be
already
perfect
installed.
then.
Okay, so cgi.parse and then parse URL. Just looking at what he had in the chat.
Okay, actually plain Ruby. That is absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Hey
Oh
Nick,
no.
what are you using for streaming, but not StreamYard? Just a question in the chat.
I'm using Streamlabs OBS, so that's I can't remember who makes it, but OBS is the open source software, and then this is a layer on top of it that just adds some neat features to it. But I'm streaming on my account to the dev Twitch stream, so there's stuff like if I'm streaming, it'll show up, but it doesn't show up on dev because I'm not actually logged in as dev. Like if somebody subscribes to my stream, this little zombie starts running across and says you have a subscriber or something. But that you won't see that happen on here. But it seemed pretty easy to set up. I just followed. I think I just followed a tutorial that I googled. OBS didn't seem to be that difficult getting set up either, but once again, I was still fairly new to streaming. This was back in July, and yeah, what was I gonna say? OBS is kind of like it has less bells and whistles because it's kind of like the base of all these things that things get built off of, but it's still very powerful. But
Yeah, I
it's
use
kind of
Streamlabs for
more.
my own streaming, and I've been streaming for like over a year. It's a good like it's I think one of the most fully featured like streaming focused tools out there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and
It supports
Geeky Girl Sarah
multi-streaming and
is
all that
saying
stuff.
she uses OBS and OBS Live. I'm on a Mac, so
Oh.
there's some of the software that doesn't work. Like I think OBS Live is not available on Mac. I'm not positive. But, um,
So what I'm trying
yeah, so
now.
that's okay.
So we went over here, and this was the problem that we're now having, which is that this chat channel membership test is saying that
Yeah,
like VCR can't find it. And I don't know where this is coming from, and I don't know what triggered it because that's not part of like our R spec.
yeah,
So what I'm
yeah.
gonna try and do instead is I'm gonna open up a Rails console. So the Rails console
Okay.
is basically like you open up the app and you open up a terminal like you would with a debug, but it's just inside of Rails. It's not in a particular file. And what I
Yeah.
should be able to do is test out the things that we want to do with CGI and like try out the methods and see what they return, which
Okay.
is as close as I can get.
Yeah. If you wanna, you can open. I have your terminal open here. If you wanna just open the Rails console.
Oh, um,
Oh no, you can't do
I'm
it from there
using
either, right? Let me see if I can. I doubt I can. No, yeah, it doesn't recognize Rails.
yeah, because you're essentially opening up my dev environment.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so if the other stuff wasn't working in the
Oh,
terminal, I'll still have the same issue.
what if I worked on your dev environment?
You could. I don't have your changes, but I could get latest and do that if you wanted to check it out.
I think that'd be much faster, and I can just copy my changes. We haven't
Yeah,
done
cool.
anything big.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna disconnect from live share and I'll just get my environment back up and running. It won't take long. My computer's fairly new, so it's pretty fast. So I'm gonna
Did you just use
disconnect
my face
here.
again? There we go.
All
Okay,
right.
so I have this, and I can say URI.parse. And what is this Twitch tag that I've been using. This is the example.
Just open up things here. I'm just gonna grab latest and master just to make sure that I have your changes. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna switch to my VS Code now. Just 2 seconds.
Fernanda had to say CGI.parse.
Okay, cool. 2 seconds here. Just gonna close yours. Should say I'm disconnected from you. And there we go. There's mine. Okay. Some folks asked this the other day, so I'm just gonna mention it. You can toggle a screencast mode in VS Code, and that's how people saw me typing when I was working. So that's good there. Okay, I have latest of everything here. I just have a ZSH alias I wrote called refresh that just does everything I need to get my environment back up without nuking everything. It just runs the Rails DB migration, make sure I'm up to date with everything. So it'll just take a minute. I'll send you a live share. Okay.
Let me swap over. So this
pop
actually kind of makes me think about something really interesting that I read about one of the programming adjacent games that I play on stream. So I play Exapunks, and what one person was talking about was the difference between like Exapunks and your normal everyday environment. Because like one of them is a game and it feels fun and it feels interesting. And what they said was that it's because it's a frictionless development environment. Your tests are pre-built. All you have to do is go up and write the code, and like you know exactly what your output is supposed to be, so there's no requirement mingling. It's just the pure puzzle solving aspect of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say for me the dev environment is probably the most frustrating.
Well, it's a bigger application, like because like a lot of the side project stuff I work on is front end stuff, so you just do yarn install or npm install and then you go.
True.
But yeah, if you want to connect to my live share, I sent you a link in the chat there, and I have the Twitch tag rspec rspec file open. I'm gonna run rspec.
I do not have permission to view the message history of dev stream chat.
Oh, interesting. Okay. That's me being a Discord server noob. Okay, 2 seconds. Permissions. Manage messages. No. Read message history. There you go. You should be able to see it now.
I cannot.
Let me paste it in.
But the message saying that I wasn't allowed to see anything disappeared.
Okay. Here's the link.
There we go.
I just pasted. Okay. So I ran the rspec. It ran pretty quickly too. So 4 examples passed. All right. Accept. All right. You're in the matrix. I'll just shrink this one. Okay. So I have rspec down here. If you want to open up a terminal in VS Code, I can grant you access to it.
I think Rachel is gone again.
Oh, okay. She's taking a nap. Right.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, what's up? So while she's reconnecting, so as Rachel mentioned, we have rspec, which is I believe it's the testing framework for it's for I don't think it's for Rails specifically. I think it's for just Ruby in general. It's a type of testing library. So I have it all installed, so I can run rspec and then just the name of the file, and then things just run. and I have a bunch of Ruby warnings all the time on my local machine. I don't know why, and things are still working though, so I just don't touch it. I will at some point. But you can see here the spec files ran. So hopefully Rachel comes back soon. Um,
You didn't accidentally like take her away with your permissions, did you?
no, 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 no.
Okay.
No, she should be back in a sec. Anyways, for those just jumping in, so we are working on adding some more embeddable types for the Twitch Liquid Tag. But before Rachel just jumped off for a second, we were working in the spec tag, in the spec file. So we want, she likes to do a TDD approach, so test-driven development approach. And so she was building up on these tests. These are all unit tests, so they're really just small, short tests. And we're working with the ideas with the. I'll let you see if you can get in touch with Rachel, Christina, on
She
Twitter
just
or
left
somewhere.
a comment in our chat. She said everything broke. Discord, VS Code, Streamlabs. Everything broke.
Okay. Okay, that's
Implode.
interesting. That's interesting. Okay, well we'll let her get back. But yeah, so the idea was we have more than one embeddable type. The plan of attack was to make it a lot, just to make it easier for someone who's adding the liquid tag to the editor. Uh, the syntax like I showed before, the squiggly bracket, %, Twitch, because it's a Twitch embedded with the liquid tag, and then it would just be a URL, URL, another contentious discussion on how it's called, I guess. But um, I like this approach because then they just need to paste in the URL. They don't have to worry about like, do I have to add another parameter to say it's a clip or it's the actual stream or it's a broadcast. And so the idea right now was she was working in the test files here, just writing these small tests to parse the URL and to write the test to handle this. And then
Yeah.
from there, as she's building out those tests, things will probably break, and then you add the code into the actual file, which is a twitch_tag.rd file here. And yeah, that was kind of where we were at. I know we're also getting
Yeah.
close to an hour and a half here. I don't want to
Yeah.
stop the stream until she comes back though, because you know, I don't know. I'm gonna blame 2020 again on this, pandemic. Thanks again for another, whatever. But yeah. Oh, she's back. All right, she's in VS Code. Okay. So she's got her
Coming.
live share open at least. So then the video will probably pop back. But
Yay!
yay.
Oh, am I voice connected?
You are voice connected.
Yeah, you are. You wait, is this is this my inner monologue speaking to me? Or is this Rachel?
Hang on a second. That's probably me.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. So what I did is I hit play on Twitch so I could see what was happening. Let me turn the camera back on.
No worries.
Yay. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, I was just saying, because some people just joined the stream too. I kind of gave a breakdown of what we're doing. So the plan of attack is to really drive this liquid tag off of the URL, because I think from a user standpoint, like, because forum will be for other platforms as well, like communities. I think just being able to paste in the URL with the Twitch liquid tag is the easiest, instead of people saying I need to add another parameter to say it's like a clip or a broadcast. So the other thing I was going to say is we're getting close to 2:30, so we're probably going to wrap things up, but I didn't want to stop the stream until you came back, because that would have been like awkward, like, yeah, we dissed her.
Goodbye.
But yeah, I guess you'll continue working on this after the stream. PR will go up, and anybody in the community who wants to check it out, definitely by all means. So yeah, so basically we got to the point where we would just, because you're a big fan of TDD, you've just been writing the tests to kind of handle all the parsing of the URL and make sure that the different scenarios we have with the embeddable types will work, and then writing the code in the actual RB file based on the tests failing, because you need to get the actual code to do
Exactly.
what you
And
want the
then
test to do.
Fernando dropped in and was like, we can use URI and CGI to try and like parse the URL and figure out like what is the first section of the URL and then what is the what are the URL params that we're going to describe.
Cool. All right. Well, first I just want to say thanks for coming on the stream today. I had a lot of fun. We had some good times. We sang. We said things incorrectly. So it was I don't know. I like the fact that these things are super informal in that sense. And yeah, thanks for coming on. Before we go, if there's anything you want to shout out or talk about, yeah.
Yeah,
Go
absolutely. So first of all, I want to say, hey Corey Haynes, hey Geeky Girl Sarah, hey Sad Moody, and hey Rollers. It was nice to see you hanging out over here in the Dev2 community. If there's anybody else that I missed, give me a shout out. So for again the month of Hacktober, what I'm going to do on Sunday, this Sunday, is I'm going to be working on some existing PRs that I have, and then next Sunday I'll be visiting my fourth and final open source repository that is based on Rails. You can catch me on Twitch. I'm trying to produce new YouTube videos. One of the ones that's going to be very exciting is the actual process by which I created the original Twitch clip embed from beginning to end.
Nice. And I linked those in the chat, her YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch if you don't already follow her. So.
Yep. And if you feel like giving Christina or myself a follow, or if you haven't followed the Twitch stream for Dev yet, do that when you have a chance. If you feel like it, Christina, if you can pop those links in if you want to into the chat when you have a second. Yeah, aside from that, we didn't see any sloths today. We talked a lot about sloths. Do not disturb them if they're on the ground because they are using the washroom. So just be polite about that. And
True.
I think that's all we got. I have to jump on to something else now. It's like super busy day. I feel like we've been streaming I feel like I've been streaming for 5 years now or something. Anyways, cool. Well, thanks again, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks for inviting me. This was a ton of fun. I'd love to do it again. Bye.
Yes.
Oh, for sure. Love to have you on again. Okay, bye.